Yes, welcome back to your HTML class, the basic HTML class. I'm sure you've tried hands on the tags I gave you in the last module. Now, in this module, we want to try to understand some other things that we can do with our HTML in this basic class. Now, we're looking at an anchor tag. What is an anchor tag? The first you need to understand that an anchor does not work on its own. It needs some other elements to work. So we are looking at an anchor tag this time around. And how do you write an anchor tag? Now, if you look at what we have above, you can see that the anchor is represented by the A that we have here. If you can see my mouse clearly, the A here. Then we have the href, which is the HTML reference. Then we have the address. Where is it going to link to? Which is the anchor is working together with the href. The anchor is working together with the href. So where is it going to link to? And then we can introduce some text along with it. We can introduce some text along with it. So let's run down to our practical. I'm sure you still have your Notepad++ open or your other text editor that you're using. So we can try hands on the anchor tag. So remember, we introduce the A, which is for anchor. Then we introduce our href. Then we can move on to the next thing, which is putting the equal to sign. Now, where are we linking these to? So, for example, what if this was an existing page or an existing work that you've saved on your system? It means that, for example, it's not going to be, maybe it's on your folder called HTML class. Let's assume the folder is called HTML class, then / about us.html. So it means that if you have a document that is with this name, then you can reference your anchor tag to this. But for this example, we want to reference our anchor tag to an address itself, an address, not just an example that we have here. We want to use an address. So if you go back to our presentation, you can see here that we're using an address format and the folder format I just explained to you. So for the address format, we're going to put the address that we want to work with. So let's assume we have an address here called HTTPS, sorry. Then the domain name, we're using google.com. That is our domain name. Now we close it here. And this is our anchor tag. Now we can now close the anchor tag fully, but it will be good for us to have a text that they can click on for that anchor tag to work. Go back to your presentation, you see that we have a text here called your link text here. It means this is the text that you would see, and when everybody clicks on this link, it takes them to google.com. Just like we have used an example, google.com can also be any other address that you want to link them to on your website. So we'll go back to that page now. I will introduce, link to Google. Then we are going to close it. Remember, close the anchor tag. Now remember to check. If you click here, you can see that this other one here is showing the same way we have it with our italic, with our bold, with our H1 and H3 that we've tried in the previous lessons. So let's save our work now. Go to our browser, review that. So you can see a link to Google. So if I click here, it's going to open for me a Google page. I will see that. Good. So let's go back. Let's go back. So what you're going to try for me right now is do a quick pause on this video and try to create an href, an anchor link that links to your Facebook profile, to your Yahoo Mail, and also link it to your personal website if you already have one existing, or any other website that you can. So you're going to have 3 links for your anchor tag. So you can do a quick pause on this video and try to do that now. Now while we're back with our tags, now the next thing we want to introduce is what we call the underscore blank. Now, there are sometimes when you want to create a link and you don't want it to override your current site. You don't want it to override your current site. For that to work, you need to introduce what we call the target. Where would this take you to when you are working? So that is called a target. That is called a target. So you can introduce what we call a target. So you have target equal to, then you open your column and have underscore blank before you close the link. Before you close the link. So let's go to our practical and try that out. So it means I'll have it here immediately. Can you see that? Go back and check again. See the same way you have it here. Can you see that here? That's the same thing you're going to have here. Immediately you have, before you close it, you have to introduce your target underscore blank. So let's go and do that now. So we see here, we introduce targets and equal to, then we have underscore blank. Good. So it means that by the time we click on this link here, it will open in a new tab, just the way we have it here on our presentation. So we have targets underscore blank, and we have on our practical target underscore blank. So let's save it. Let's save it. Do a quick save. We'll go to the next one. You see that? Can you see that now? Open the new tab. So this is it. Go back to our code. Target underscore blank is saved. Refresh your page and you click on it. It opens in a new tab. Good. Let's go to the next tags that we have to do with our anchor tags. Now the next one here is our email. Our email. The email tag. The email tag. Now the email tag helps us to do similar thing just like we did with our linking for the Google site that we tried. But this time around, we're introducing a new function called the mail tool. The mail tool. So instead of having the website address there, we are just replacing that with a function called the mail tool function. The mail tool function, and put in the address that you want it to go to, the email address that you want it to go to. So let's go to our practical to try that out. So you can work smartly. You can copy this out quickly. Put in a new tab. Take out this underscore blank because we don't need that for this targets. Now we're changing this from what we have before now to now have the mail to functionality. Can you see that? So where are we mailing it to? So it can be example at htmlclass.com, or if that is the email address of an existing domain. I will say this. Now, if you have done this, you have introduced a mail to functionality. Mail to functionality. Do a quick test, save your work, and refresh. So you have this. If you click this, so you see it will try to open your email software. Here you can see it's trying to open my mail client application here. So that is what will happen using the mail tool functionality. Using the mail tool functionality. On your end, you can try the next one. Now the next one says to introduce a subject. So just like we did for the previous one, that would introduce what we call the target. Now, this time around, you can introduce to what we call the subject. So the subject will be the subject of that email. So if you try to open the mail client application, it's going to start the email for you with a predefined subject that you have put into your mail. So you can introduce the subject on your end quickly. So it takes a few minutes to do that and introduce the subject and see how that works. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is our image styling. Now, by the time we talk about image styling, just know that we are taking a look, a bit of a tip to our CSS class. To our CSS class, I'm sure you're excited about that already with what you've learned so far. So our image styling is trying to what predefine some settings to our image, not just having the image, but trying to understand how they will work. Now, remember in the previous class, we tried to introduce an image and we were able to put the image of an ad. Now, can we style that image to introduce some other things to it, like the height and the width for that image? Like the height and the width for that image? Yes, we can. by introducing two types of the image styling. Is it that we use the height and the width, or we introduce the max width, the max height, the borders, and every other types of functionality that we can play around using our HTML. So you can try that out right now on your end. You can put in your image. Remember the last one we did, the image title for the ads. You can use the same thing. Just introduce the other information that we have. For example, try out the max width 50 and see what it looks like on your end. Try out the max width 50 and see what it looks like on your end. Have you done that? Can you quickly show that? Try it out. Try it out. Okay, good, good, good. Now we're going to go a little bit further to introduce some new things to us. In HTML, we have what we call the orders. We have what we call the orders in listing. So in listing, we have three types of listing. Three types of listing. We're just trying to explore various things in HTML in this basic introduction class. We have three types of listing. We have the ordered listing, the unordered listing, and the definition listing. The ordered listing, the unordered listing, and the definition listing. The list itself is represented by the li here, closing it. Remember, I is representing the italic, or Li means a list. So we are using our what? The order listing. It means that we have to introduce another element or another tag called OL. OL means ordered list. Ordered list. So for us to do that, we just have to start our text with what? The ordered list. And inside the ordered list, we can now have our listing closing and listing on each end of it. Do you want us to try that now? Good. Now this is an example of that. This is an example of that. So it means that I will start with my ordered list and close with my ordered list. And for every item there, I will use my listing option. Now let's quickly try that out on our practical. So it means I will introduce my OL, which is for ordered lists. I would also close it so that I don't forget my order list. Now this means I'm going to have an ordered list. Now the list itself has to be represented, which is the li. So the list can be item 1, for example here. Then I close my list as well. Now you can work faster by just copying the item here quickly and just paste them to have multiple of that. So we have 4 of that, so I can change the number. Item 2, item 3, and item 4. So you can save your work now and do a quick review of that. Good, so you can see it. Can you see it? So the listing automatically brings your numbering for you for the ordered list. So you can see item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4. If you have done that correctly, bravo. Good. Let's move on to the second one. Remember, we say we have three major types of listing: the ordered listing, we have the second one that is the unordered listing, and the third that is the definition listing. Let's try ours on the next one. The next one is the unordered listing, which is represented by UL. UL. So the same methodology that we use for the first one applies to the second one. Nevertheless, it will now give you bullet points and instead of the numbers that we have for the first one. Are you ready to try it out now? Good. Let's try it out using our UL. So we copy out the previous code so that we can work fast. Now we represent and just change the OL here with our UL to represent the ordered list. I will save our work. See what we've done so far. Refresh it. Can you see that now? Good, 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 good. Now we go to the third option, which is the definition list. In definition list, we're introducing some new elements here. Some new elements we introduce in definition list, which will have the DL, the DT, and the DD. The DL itself is the definition list, just like we have the OL and the UL. Then we have the definition item. and the definition itself. We have the DL, which is the definition list. We have the definition item and the definition itself. It means that the DL represents the code to tell the table or to tell that list that this is a definition list. The DT is the definition item, for example, the main title. Then the DD is what you are trying to define. What you are trying to define. If you look at this example above, you can see that we have a text called for example. That for example can be our DT, while an item, an anchor, and the rest will now be our DD. So it means we have three new things that we're working with. We're no longer working with the LI anymore. So we now have our DL, the DT, and the DD. Can we try that now? Great. So we now have DL, which is definition list itself. Remember, it's always good. You can always close that so you don't forget. Now we have the next thing, which is what? The DT, the definition title. So you can now put the title, for example, define. You can use that as a title. Then you close your DT, which is your definition title. Now you introduce the next thing, which is the DD itself, which is the definition itself. So you can put, this is a sample text, for example, here. Then you can now close your DD as well. Now let's save our work quickly and we'll do a preview of that. So can you see it? So you can see define. This is a sample text. That is a practical example of your definition list. That's a practical example of your definition list. I hope you've enjoyed the class so far. You can explore some other things that we have under the HTML text. So you can try out some of the other text that we have under the content. One of them is our table, for you to understand how to build a basic table on your HTML code. So at this point, we come to the end of your basic introduction to HTML. See you in the next module. Enjoy the rest of your day.